Interesting. The last stream, or yeah,
I
might be
remember
for the
it
better.
vaguely, but it was bad.
Understandable.
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I'd recommend you continue to do it, but
I mean, cheers, bro. I'll drink to that. Let's see, third shot? Yeah, third shot. Let's go. Damn. Clearly, you have something to rectify. Make them empty. Or just fill them with vomit. I don't know. Yeah. Alright, cheers. Ah. Fuck. Oh, yes. The super cold. It's almost like that's what happens when you fucking kill everyone's immunity for a year and a half. It's like, wow, we have not been exposed to any fucking viruses pretty much in a year and a half. And
okay, but look at the positive side
Hmm.
of this. Think of how many more people will bite it.
Yeah. Also think of how much more money Big Pharma will make selling medicine.
All
Meanwhile,
the
I'm just over here like,
leftists.
yeah, if Australia could stop having natural disasters, that'd be fucking swell. Or not Australia, California. I just my brain jumped to the first place that's constantly like a shithole to live.
Australia's issue right now is it's a police state. That's it.
Yeah,
The issue is it
still a
exists.
shithole place to live. Anyway, but like, goddamn, I was like, oh, cool, Australia or California is finally gonna get some fucking rain and stop being on fire, so we don't have to fucking hear about it being on fire every week. And I'm like, oh shit, it's flash flooding. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and look
Oops.
through my vendor list and find everyone who's in California and move those dates back by about a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, you all prayed that California would get some rain. We need you to pray for less rain. It's flash flooding. It turns out when no, Sneaky, it's all the prayers that Sneaky, it's all the people who were praying that California would hurry up and break the fuck off from the US already. Our prayers are gaining power.
Oh no. Are you
Sink
fucking kidding
California
me?
into the sea, please, already.
What?
Warner Bros. Is reportedly working on a Smash clone where Gandalf can punch Shaggy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's been out for like 2 days and I'm like, are you fucking
Yeah,
shitting me?
I hadn't heard of it before now. It's just like, what the
And you
actual
may
fuck?
be blessed. You may be the most blessed of us for that.
Oh lord.
Listen,
They
if
have made that
Shaggy's super
canon.
is not just a one-hit KO,
Yeah.
Sorry.
and they better get the actual Shaggy voice actor to go like, I guess I'll use 1% of my power now.
I'm sorry. Was Shaggy actually announced for the next 10K game or something?
No, Warner Brothers is making their own Smash clone.
Yeah. You pay attention.
Okay.
No, he
Well,
just
because
arrived.
here's
No,
the
he
thing.
arrived long
Like
before I said
a
that.
few months ago, they released a Mortal Kombat like teaser trailer in which Shaggy with glowing green eyes grabbed Scorpion. I know
Like, get over
everyone was
here,
hoping this would
man.
lead to something. Apparent, I guess it led to this.
Death from above. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, look, here's
We're going in.
here's the alternate possibility. Gandalf, we get Gandalf as like some kind of fist fight, like muscle Gandalf. If we get muscle Gandalf out of this, I'll count it as a win. Yeah, I mean, have you seen how he beats a bitch with that staff? Like, those are not dainty little old men swings. Those are head cracking swings. Oh, sweet Christ.
We're gonna start up tonight with our little story, as I always do.
Oh boy.
And so tonight's story is gonna be what happened in D&D recently.
Oh boy.
Oh, Christ almighty.
So our D&D game was very interesting.
Was it
And
the one where I wasn't there and ran into the fire?
yes, where Faceless tried to keep you alive, and I told Faceless, Faceless, there is in no point in time Gray would ever not run into the fire if it meant stabbing someone. And he's like, no, Gray would absolutely make sure his character stays alive. I said, no, he wouldn't. Let me show you. And I pinged Gray, and Gray said I would absolutely run to the fire. I was like, fucking, I told you. He died in the fire, but he ran into it still in the hopes of stabbing someone.
My exact
Excellent.
words of her. Of course I run through the fire. I ain't no bitch.
Yes.
Correction. I ain't no British.
Also correction, yes. So
I see.
Yeah.
So the session starts with us at a disadvantage. So basically, what happened 2 sessions ago is that we had decided to circumvent the DM's puzzle by blowing it up.
Okay.
Standard. Good
The
job.
DM was not ready for this. However, he's a great sport and proceeded to roll with it by just throwing all of the enemies that were inside the puzzle at us in waves, where we only got 1 turn of reprieve between each wave.
All right. That's
Fair enough.
Fair enough. That sounds like an appropriate punishment for what you did.
So my character, this is very important, my character had recently finished upgrading his Destiny 2 EVA armor suit. Now keep in mind, this
And
is
you
all
had that why?
Oh, because Faceless included it as a joke, because at the right of the start of the game, I had told him that my character was going to be a Bloodborne-style Tinker, and
Oh,
that...
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
and-
this is still the old man, right?
Yep.
Yes,
the
this
old
is
man
the old
hasn't died?
hobgoblin.
Yeah, so the old hobgoblin. His
Okay, so
his wheelchair, unfortunately, was a casualty while killing an adult red dragon inside a volcano.
I mean, that's that's pretty acceptable.
Yes. So I killed and skinned a bunch of displacer beasts as well. So I also basically have that really nice visual effect that the Tom Clancy Ghost Soldiers have with their tactical camo ponchos.
Oh yeah.
That's what Gurman has, and so everyone has disadvantage to hit him. And I'm in my Destiny 2 EVA armor. And I just recently finished giving the boots upgraded flight abilities, so now I can hover in air.
See.
Yeah. So this is all very important, because I also now have a double-barreled, long musket with a
As you do.
with a psychic bayonet on the underside.
Every time I hear the word psychic in D&D Pathfinder, all I can think is, here we fucking go again.
Oh, yeah, no, that Lupin just plays as a psychic, and he's an absolute fucking not blast to play with. But anyway,
Nope.
no, it's very funny. It's very cool. Basically, a ghost was using this super special cutlass that was made out of psychic energy, and
Of course, as they do.
yeah,
As
and
is
I was
normal.
like, hey, and so we killed the ghost, or this is way back. We killed the ghost, and I'm like, hey, does anyone want to use the ghost cutlass? And everyone's like, no, not really. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take it and use it later. And DM's like, oh, what are you gonna use it for? I'm like, I'm gonna make it into a bayonet. Is that all right? And he's like, yeah, that sounds fucking awesome. Yeah, go for it. So now it's a bayonet. So anyway, I take to the air. This is very important because part of the waves was a literal wave. 3 water elementals.
Ah.
3 corrupted water elementals, so all of their water is poisonous.
I'm sure that's not a problem.
It's an extreme
necrotic?
problem because the poison, if you failed to save on it, made you weak to necrotic damage, and unfortunately the boss dealt only necrotic damage and lightning damage, which also you were vulnerable to if you were in, say, decent amount of corrupted water.
Interesting.
You see where this is going? So the entire party got shit on by all these ads while Gurman is just flying in air, just sniping people left and right. So eventually Gurman kills everything, shoots the boss a bunch, and the boss retreats. And so now the
I've
party...
been defeated, but I can't fall here.
Yeah, basically. And this was again a portion that the DM was not ready for. So I shot the boss a bunch, and the DM's like, "Oh, he's exploding, and pus and blood is everywhere." I'm like, "All right." I tracked the boss, and he's like, "What do you mean you tracked the boss?" I'm like, "Well, I have a spell that lets me track people by the blood within the hour, and it like goes through everything besides anti-scrying spells." He's like, "Oh, are you gonna go after him immediately?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am going after him immediately. He just announced he had no spell slots left."
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But it was all part of the boss's character, because the boss's character is a little bit insane, and he's basically a Nurglite, and he said, oh no, I have no spells left, I must leave. Dory will come back for you all. Dory will kill you all. Yada yada yada. You know. So I was like, oh well, I'm gonna chase after him. And so we kind of
Watch this be the perfect Sneaky. He's just holding like a fucking disintegrate.
Well, no. See, the thing is that Gurman did in fact want to scan and collect some resources from all the monsters we killed. So there was a bit of a delay. It also gave my party enough time to heal up and fix their wounds and stop being partially dead and drowning. Which they were.
I mean, why?
Because they were underwater.
Have they tried not being underwater?
Yeah, they tried. They failed.
Fair enough.
So, we sequence. So that's where this session begins. Is we sequence broke our way to the temple. Basically, because we were supposed to jump through other hoops before this, but because I could just track the boss to his retreat location, we kind of found where the temple was hiding, like immediately.
Power move.
So we set the boat on fire that they were all in, that the temple was under, and unfortunately it did not kill the people we were hoping would die to the boat being on fire. Because it turns out there was a stone temple underneath the boat that the boat was moored to. So I'm like, okay.
I see.
Well, my character is wearing an EVA suit, which means I'm immune to smoke inhalation, I'm immune to fire damage, and I'm immune to drowning for several hours. Because I have air tanks. Because it's an EVA suit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to kick open the door and I'll tell you who's inside and then you guys can come help me. And they're like, okay. So this is how Gray dies. He runs onto the boat because he doesn't have any healing. And he refused to get any healing and he refused to give any healing, so no one healed him anymore. And so he kind of just burned to death on the boat without doing anything. But
Healing? Cringe.
Yeah. So I kick
Considering
open the door.
I also haven't been there, kind of expected because who the hell's even been playing my shit?
Faceless.
Understandable.
Yeah. So basically, I kick open the door. This old hobgoblin wielding a giant musket, double-barreled musket, in his EVA armor and tactical cloak, kicks open this
Honestly,
door.
I was kind of hoping you would die.
And there's 8 cultists inside here. And they all have heavy crossbows. And they're all pointed at me with readied actions to fire them.
Oops.
I'm like, oh. And this is where the Doom music turns on. because they all miss.
Oh,
I
oh
see.
no.
And one of them even breaks their crossbow. So they all pull out daggers and rush at me. And I'm just like, alright, let's fucking go. And I set off a bomb that kills all of them but the two in the back. And then I shoot the two in the back with my gun. And I start moving my way towards the boss, firing at him the entire time. And the boss is like, grasping terrain. I power through it. Critical save. He's like, stop, hold, freeze, doing all these different spells that are whizzing constitution checks on me, and I'm passing all of them. I'm passing all the strength saves, passing all the agility saves. I'm just like, nope, can't be stopped, coming for you.
Ripping terror intensifies.
And then more waves of units are coming, and I'm just going through them all, shooting them all.
How do you have enough ammo for this? I have to ask.
Because he let me change my gun to shoot thunder.
I see.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. I used multiple monster pieces in the creation of it. It's not just a normal musket.
I see.
And so I'm shooting them all. Finally, the party shows up and they start helping me out with the ads. Except the boss uses the Pokemon move Surf at them, just wipes all of them out. Then causes a whirlpool and sucks them all up, and then starts shooting them with lightning, killing them all. Meanwhile, me saving on everything, still shooting at him. He turns around to run. He gets to this murky pool in the back of the temple, and I fire my gun one more time, and his head explodes with a critical hit. And I'm like, okay. I walk up to the pool, and the face is like, And what do you do at this pool? I'm like, well, I turn to the rest of my party, because I know Dory is down there because the trail leads that way. I turn to my party and I go, what I'm about to do is incredibly stupid. None of you can follow me because you neither have the spells nor health. Rest up, search the area, and wait for me. I'll be back. And then he has me roll at disadvantage a dexterity save. I critically fail it.
Uh-huh.
And get immediately wrapped around by a giant tentacle and pulled underwater.
Nice.
And that's where the session ended.
I see.
And I'm just like, that is possibly the best critical fail I've ever had.
Yeah. That's some good fucking timing right there.
But yes, back to garbage stories, now that we've all had fun with this good one.
Fanfiction, eh?
Fanfiction, eh? Yes, indeed.
Oh yeah, by the way, I just made some OC while you were talking, so check your Discord.
Do I have to be... Oh, god damn it. I need alcohol! Fair enough.
Yeah.
Very well.
3 different versions for your
The necrotic
pleasure.
grip, or necrotic drip as I call it, has to be one of the best armor pieces in Guardians. Ah, you're talking about Destiny, yes. When paired with Thorn, yeah. No, that's pretty good. I haven't played Destiny in a while, and apparently it was a good choice, because apparently Destiny ain't doing too hot anymore.
Yeah, well, so Sneaky, they did the thing, so...
Yeah.
They've finally committed the ultimate nickel and diming.
No.
So they're releasing the expansion, right?
Yeah.
Now, Sneaky, when I buy an expansion for WoW,
oh yeah,
Final Fantasy 14,
they're quote
or whatever,
vaulting the content, and it's like
no, not even that. I mean, that is dumb.
Yeah.
But that's not the big problem here, right? Now, Sneaky.
Oh, is this the dungeon thing?
Yeah. How would you feel if when you bought Rise of the Lich King, you didn't actually get to fight Arthas at the end unless you paid $15 extra for the deluxe edition, or you had to go pay $20 to get the Arthas raid after you bought Wrath of the Lich King?
Yeah, yeah, that'd be pretty fucking scummy. Yeah, I heard about that. It's like there's 3 dungeons that come with the new expansion, but only if you buy the special deluxe edition. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So like, not only are they vaulting content that people paid for a year ago,
Yeah.
right? Just a
Yeah.
year ago. And for the record, not only is this incredibly not only is Destiny 2 incredibly shitty to anyone who like paid money for it at the beginning,
Yeah.
because now if you want to pay all the content, it's over $200.
Well, not only that, now you have to wait for the content to quote unquote cycle back out.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, that whole thing where they were like free to play and they had this cool new free player experience, that's been vaulted. So you can still get the game for free, but you can't actually fucking do anything besides like some basic strikes and some PvP.
Wow. Nice. Amazing.
Like,
yeah. No.
golly. So they Bungie's really got to like
Well, you know,
go into like
it's as the
the
story
hazmat
goes, you know?
shower and clean the Activision Blizzard scum off of them.
Well, you know, it's as the story goes, you know. You either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain, and we've definitely seen that now with many of the good old boys, who we all thought were the good old boys, and they couldn't have never done anything wrong, and now they're doing a lot wrong. You know, it's partially becoming a business because you do have to watch for your bottom line, but it's also your business becoming disconnected from the business it's doing. Like, it's one thing if the paper company doesn't really give a shit about like what's going on in the paper news world or whatever, because they sell paper.
I would say the only thing they have to care about is whether or not a paper mill shuts down.
Yeah, like it's like no one's really gonna care if, you know, I don't even know what the fuck could be going on in the paper industry. But anyway, you get my point though. It's not like the paper company can be very sterilized and very industrial when it comes to how it handles paper sales because it's selling paper. It's not selling art in video format, also known as interactive movies or video games.
Well, it's not even selling an experience where the enjoyment of the user is prevalent, right?
Yeah.
When I buy paper, I'm not thinking, oh, this paper was very entertaining, right? The only thing I care about is
being
this
entertained
paper
by
was
paper.
smooth and nice to use.
Yeah, it's like, did the paper break when I wrote on it? No. Did it jam my printer? No. Is it the cheapest one on the shelf? Ding ding, we have a fucking winner, boys.
Yeah, and the game industry is very different, and I think the major problem is that these companies, when they get bigger, they just start hiring normal positions, like normal business positions, like we need a treasurer and we need analytics people and we need
Sneaky, that's called a CFO in the business world.
I couldn't give a shit what the business world calls it. We need all of these people to tell us our metrics and our numbers and how to improve them. And the small issue with that is that they are a game company. Their goal, while to make profit is a bonus, is to produce games that are fun, that people want to buy. They're supposed to entertain people. And you see this in the movie industry and the comic industry now as well, where they've lost sight of the plot being we're here to entertain people. And now they're looking at it straight metrics like, well, you see, if we vault the content after a year, we show a market increase in people buying this thing. Or, you know, if we offer shortcut kits and we make it very time consuming to do this thing, and we offer a monetary shortcut to circumvent it, people will buy it more. And it's like, well, that's not the point of a game. The point of the game is not to milk people. The point of the game is to make it so fun people keep giving you money.
Yeah, like, if you look at the early expansions of WoW, they kept getting away with charging $60 for an expansion in addition to $15 a month because people were having a blast.
Yeah, Exactly. And I mean, it's like Dota's actually a really great example for the two of us. It's a fucking free-to-play game, and I'm pretty sure the two of us alone have put in, I've put in at least $4,000. I know you've put in at least $2,000 from all the battle pass shit.
I was gonna say, over the entire course of my Dota career,
Yeah.
I would say probably right around 2,000, counting cosmetics,
Yeah.
battle pass, right?
Because it's
I don't have
fun
to pay
and
a
you're
dime.
like, yeah, I'm gonna keep paying because it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
I want the shiny cosmetics.
Yeah.
I in no way need the shiny cosmetic.
I'm confused as to why companies adopt that model, where you make an unfun game and try and nickel and dime your consumer base. Well, it's actually
Because it
really
works
simple.
in the short term. That's
Yeah,
the problem.
it's really simple.
Yeah.
It's a lot of companies
Money
don't really
printer,
think
but-
long term, and the common economic theory isn't built to think long term. There's no real limiting factor being placed on the business executives, where the executive goes, "Oh, I want the game to make X amount of dollars." Well, that's not the point of the game, but because the company is trying to get profits now, and is in control of the people who want to make profits.
Well, no. Right, here's the problem. A significant portion of the problem
It's
is
also a
centered
problem.
around the way CEO pay is structured.
Yeah,
Because
also
right
that,
now,
yeah,
most high-level company executives,
yeah.
their pay is, here is X minimum salary, and here's this 17-mile long list of all the things you get if we hit X milestones.
Right, yeah,
And
true, yeah.
Right, that's where all the obscene amounts of money that the people who run Coca-Cola and Walmart and all those other fucking places get their piles of money from. They receive a heavy asterisk here, relatively modest salary for being a CEO, right? Like,
For
compare
being the CEO
American
of Coca-Cola, yes, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you compare the base pay of a CEO in America, right? No options, no bonuses, just base pay. You compare that to the pay of CEOs around the world. CEOs in America make less, but when you factor in all the other bonus shit they get, they make absurd amounts of money.
Right, but
So they're
the
incentivized
bonuses
to
are
prioritize.
also- Yeah, but the bonuses are also because money given to you as a bonus versus as a salary falls under different tax deductibles and
There's a whole bunch of shit,
Yeah.
but the point is, those CEOs are incentivized to think in the short term, especially with the way that our economy, right? The U.S. economy functions on boom and bust cycles. That's just how it is. It's not necessarily good, but it is sustainable.
the other
James,
major
you know the
issue,
shit.
the other major issue is how the stock system works as well. Because what you're supposed to do is every quarter you're supposed to show that you're making a profit for your stockholders. And as a company, you can be sued for not making a profit for your stockholders. And the problem is the people buying stock.
Well, no, that has to be a particular. You have to. It has to be a particularly egregious.
Right, but you
yes,
have to-
technically they can.
Yeah.
But
Right.
most of those suits get thrown out.
Right,
But
but
you
you have to
will
keep
lose
in
a lot of
mind-
fucking money, a lot of value if you
Yeah.
don't make a good profit.
Yeah, that too. But you have to keep in mind is that things like the great example is engines. So the entire industry is really suffering when it comes to game engines, because it's really expensive to make a game engine, and the game engine doesn't objectively make any profit directly. And so it's really hard to justify to your shareholders why you need to spend this $7 million that is not going to net you any profit, period, when using the current game engine for a game for that same amount of time would net you a profit. And it's like, well, yeah. And it happens to every single company that goes onto the stock market when it comes to game companies. Every single company that goes onto the stock market suddenly is like, oh, well, improving our product anymore isn't really in our best interests in terms of shareholders and generating money for the company to operate. Because improving the product would require us to spend money, and spending money as a company when we can just make money without spending money is more optimal. Blah blah blah. So ultimately, it's just a bunch of factors that have boiled together and a really toxic culture. It's unfortunate,
It's fucked.
but it is what it is. And you can sort of see the same thing with the products that are made with cartoons, anime. I mean, not so much, but the
Like
isekai
fucking Dawn.
era was a thing.
It's
It kinda is.
still ongoing,
I'm aware.
but that's like really the most egregious example.
Movies, comics, etc., etc. But
I shall
anyway,
return momentarily.
So I'm gonna make sure that wow, what the fuck is going on with this URL? Let me fix this URL real quick. No, we've already covered this fic. Never mind.
Oh, excellent. Great.
There you go.
Yay!
We have been blessed today by the forgetful Sneaky.
Did we cover this one yet? Yeah, we covered this.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we covered this one.
It sounded familiar.
Yeah.
And it sure was.
Have we covered this one yet? No. Aha. Excellent. Let's get in it, gentlemen.
Oh boy.
That last thing in the summary makes me worried.
Naruto prototype
Oh no.
crossover.
No. Wait. Hang on, I'm gonna check it for TOS.
That's why I said something.
The viral god. Naruto was never meant to be a hero nor a villain. He would call. No, wait, what? Wait. Naruto was never meant to be a hero nor a villain. So that's passive. So that's past passive. And then we got present active of he would carve his own path. That doesn't jive together though. Like,
It is retarded.
like that doesn't like that's like 1 + 1 = fish here. Like that's
Okay, first chapter, not TOS. I'm not digging deeper.
like it's like Hitler was never meant to be a war criminal. He would carve his own path to be an artist. It's like, wait, hold on.
Hang on a minute.
Wait a second. How is that related at all?
Where did this go wrong?
Where did we go wrong? He would choose his own fate, and maybe he would gain freedom. Freedom from what? You just said he was not meant to be a hero or villain.
Wait, Sneaky. Imagine.
Yeah.
If Hitler was born in the modern day, he couldn't have failed as an artist. He could just have made furry porn commissions and become rich instead.
You know what? That's true. Also, I don't think they would have failed him because I don't think you can fail art school anymore. I think it's against the law in Germany.
Fair enough.
No,
Maybe.
wait, no, Kiara failed art school.
I mean, that's Austria, but yeah, same thing.
I mean,
Actually, wait. That's actually even more on point for
Yeah.
Hitler, so yeah. It was
Hold on.
Vienna.
Hold on. Built a village filled with long-nosed people to concentrate them. Hold on a second. I'm not liking where this is going. Because that means I have to say Kiara was based. And we all know Kiara is not based.
Yeah, it was based all along.
He would leave this dying world behind. Harem and incest. You excited,
Yeah.
Max? Good talk, Max. Great to
I
hear.
think Max is having a great time.
I think Max is having a minor aneurysm.
I mean,
Hang
Same
on
thing,
a minute,
really.
I've seen this before. Yes. Well, according
of
to our
course,
Discord,
Or has seen this before.
according to our Discord, it's not there. So
I'm gonna check the SDM just real quick. I don't think. Nope, not posted there either.
yeah, it's never been posted anywhere, which means
So this is an aura moment. Certified.
Ooh.
Note
So
that
this
down,
is
boys.
Naruto times Kushina times Alex Mercer.
We live in a society.
Why'd I come back
643
in for
people
this?
need to be lined up against the wall.
We live in a society where I have to take another shot because fucking Christ.
Yeah, no, I'm not reading this. No, I'm not gonna read this sober. Hold on, let me fix that.
Cheers, bro. I'll drink to that. Shot.
Chapter 1, A Dark Beginning. Konohakura no Sato. Period. The most powerful village in the 5 great shinobi nations. It was night. The full moon hung in the sky, surrounded by stars of many colors, red, white, and blue in particular.
Oh,
All was at
say,
peace.
can you see?
It was never meant to last. Oh, I was referring to the meme of the Kiara thing? Yeah. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Wait, hold on. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed person built the railroad to transport people quicker. Hold on.
Jawohl.
A being of unfathomable power attacked. Its form was that of a great fox. Wait, it is form?
It is form.
Its form was of great fox. 9 tails swayed in a hypnotic yet terrifying manner. Where did this hypnotic shit come from? Because, like, I've seen it in a lot of the newer Naruto stories referring to the tails swaying in a hypnotic manner, and I've just been always like, what the fuck?
You know what? I don't know.
Like
Naruto's
what's the it's gotta be a fanfic, but what's the origin fanfic that everyone read that made them all go, I must put this in my story?
I think Andros would know.
You know what? Andros might know. Someone ping Andros. He needs to suffer as well.
Yeah. Or Sexies. Either or.
The fox assaulted the village mercilessly. Entire blocks fell to the swings of its strangely human-like arms. It would grab and either crush those unfortunate enough to be caught in its grasp to red paste and crunched bone. It made no distinction between man or woman, based. The old and sick, and not even child were spared. The village leader, period. Not sure that's a sentence, but it is anyway. The Yodaime Hokage would soon save the village, everyone hoped, everyone pleaded. But the village would not be saved without a sacrifice, that of his child. Its very humanity, even its soul, would be sacrificed to protect Konoha. That was the price of the Shinigami. And yet, death was not without a sense of mercy. Ancient and eldritch as it was, it pitied the child. And it would bestow upon the child a gift from another reality entirely. All it needed to do was to acquire the— Wait, hold on a second. We definitely read this before.
Oh.
We've totally read this before. No, yeah, and then he shows up and he turns Alex Mercer into a ball. And then and he puts Alex inside Naruto.
Turned him into a fucking ball, Sneaky. Funniest thing I've ever seen.
It like slurps up Naruto and Kushina or something. Yeah, no.
Alright,
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we don't have to read this. It would be great if we don't. So
yeah, no, we've absolutely read this before. I don't know why it didn't show up in the Discord. I guess I just never linked it.
Maybe. That's a sneaky moment.
But I know we've definitely not read this one before.
Oh boy.
Probably. Like 50%. Yeah, no, because as one of you read further on to find out why Alex Mercer was gender bend and why Kushina was still alive, and They like used Naruto's DNA to then turn Kushina into Alex, and then Alex turned into a girl, and then like
What
it
the
was
fuck?
fucking weird. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. Okay. Don't make me actually fully remember that. I'm gonna keep drinking.
Yeah, you should. Definitely.
In the last episode, we took a peek at Genshin Impact crossovers. I'm surprised there aren't more Naruto crossovers, considering the character of Yae Guji. I don't know what that means, but okay.
I don't want to know what that means either.
I'll take your word for it. So this is of Heroes and Monsters, which I'm 100% sure we have not read this one. This is a Naruto Ruby crossover. So pretty much as bad as the prototype one. Fox Lady from Genshin. Ah, I see.
Neat.
Pariah at birth. Honestly, I'm more shocked that people haven't made the Kyuubi actually Tamanome from either FGO. Yeah, from just FGO in general, I guess. So what's the one where she wants to be a wife? Is that
FGO.
That's just FGO?
That's just Fate. Well, yeah. Fate in general, I think. She's in Extra.
Extra, yeah,
At
that's where she
least.
first shows up. Yeah.
Yeah, and some other stuff as well, I think. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't see why people just don't make the Kyuubi Tamanome.
I have not
and
consumed
just,
enough Ritalin to understand the Fate franchise,
I mean, that's
even
fair
slightly.
enough. I don't feel like ever understanding the Fate franchise, which is why I don't participate in it.
Understandable. I like the porn.
All right. Of Heroes and Monsters, Pariah at birth, dead last in his class by 7, Shinobi dropout by 9, Mercenary by age 10, S rank by age 12, ex-terrorist by age 13, and international criminal by 14. Wait, hold on a second. Wait.
Hang on.
You weren't an
No,
international criminal before you were the terrorist? Wait a second.
Based though? I mean,
You need to be off Ritalin to understand it? No. You need to be on Ritalin to understand FGO. No,
yeah.
You have to be in hyper autism mode.
Yeah, you have to like activate the turbo autism.
I've seen this fic in passing. Yeah, it's like, look,
course you have,
so
Laura.
as far as summaries go, this is actually a decent summary in terms of drawing people in, because it's not telling you what's going on or why it's going on, or it's not giving you too much information, but it is saying a bunch of statements. It's throwing a bunch of shit out there that makes you go, okay, that's, like,
It makes you go,
Kinda-
what the
I
actual
kinda- I
fuck?
kinda
I
wanna
kind of
see
want to
what-
know.
yeah.
Yeah, like, how did this happen?
But it's not a good summary in that it doesn't actually tell us about the story. It's supposed to tell us about the story, and that's supposed to draw people in. Is like, oh, that summary is interesting. I'm kind of interested in reading this story now. Not us going, what the fuck? That while a good way to draw people in, not a good way to start your story's first impression. I guess is the best way to put it. So this is 30 chapters with 234k words. So this is a solid 2 books long by this point. And it's still updating 3 years in. It's got 2,400 favorites and 1,200 reviews. So this is fairly impressive in terms of both update speed, update amount, and user base interactivity. Isn't Ritalin supposed to curb autism? It sort of is. So basically, when you're on Ritalin, it's meth. First off, just to be clear, it's a meth derivative. But it basically makes the person who normally has very scattered thoughts, in where, yes, the autism does let you focus on things and put shit together and yada yada yada, meme. The Ritalin basically makes you competent and able to focus that energy into actually accomplishing things,
Yeah.
which is basically super autism mode, where before you had the scattered focus and intelligence to find all the little pieces that would normally be associated with autisming on something. Ritalin makes you able to focus that energy into turning yourself from the schizophrenic into the National Geographic, it's fucking aliens, man, check out my red thread dartboard.
Yeah. You go from autist to hyper autist, essentially.
That's the general goal, at least.
Yeah.
Well,
If someone-
that's certainly one way to describe that.
I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Not entirely, as someone who's had to be on stimulant meds, you're not entirely wrong.
Yeah. Like, it's always something that I've considered going back on, but I had a really bad first experience with it, and kind of don't want to go at it again. So.
Well, didn't they have you try like 2 or 3 different meds and none of them worked, or did they only have you try the one?
They had me try. I was the Ritalin, Concerta, and Allegra, I believe.
And none of them worked.
Yeah, no. I mean, varying definitions of worked. They definitely worked. Just to be clear, they definitely made me.
None of them worked without the problematic side effects.
They sure did
such as
something.
heightened aggression, which is not
Yes.
a normal side effect.
Yes. Yeah. No. They all had lots of side effects to them, and I also built up an immunity to them really quickly, which I was taking some pretty large doses by the end of it. And so I kind of just stopped.
Yeah. But on the bright side, a very common thing, if your brain is fucked up in the way that requires these meds, no withdrawal symptoms. Despite the fact that
yeah, no. The second I
those
stopped
are-
taking it, it just went away. I did had some. I can't really say if I had long-term side effects from it, because I was on it for so long. I don't really know how my personality would have developed without it.
Understandable.
But yeah, so I can't. It's really hard to say if I have any long-term side effects from the usage of it.
yeah.
I definitely don't see black and white anymore, and I also don't have an overwhelming urge to stab everyone around me and rip out their guts so I can look at them. But I can't really say
Well,
what is.
maybe you
is
should.
Side effect.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Gut inspection day.
Gut
Hand over your guts.
big and smelly guts. This is a world of heroes and monsters. The wind is howling.
Okay then. Cool.
Okay. Snowflakes dance across the landscape of ash and ice. A jet black void fills the sky. Gray storm clouds rumble overhead. Snow and soot smother the forest of stone. Scent of fading embers clinging to charcoal and cinder.
Leave poor Gray out of this. He doesn't deserve this.
What an opening.
Yeah, it's clear that somebody fucking really wants to make a visual thing,
Yeah.
but doesn't have any of the skills required, so they just write it out instead and end up failing miserably.
Well, it's not only that, it's also the sort of pacing surrounding it and how they open the story. Like, I would take this visual notification, I guess you could call it. I would take it a lot more seriously if the story didn't fucking open up, it's a world of heroes and monsters.
You know what I'm gonna take,
Like-
Sneaky?
Like, opening up with that makes me instantly, my mind just clicks into Earth Defense Force mode. Like,
Fair enough. Also, I'm gonna take another shot, just for that.
yeah, I've been
Cheers.
drinking this whole time. To most, the monsters are the creatures of Grimm. What do you mean, to most? Terrible. To most, unspeakable horrors are the monsters. to everyone. Like, even the most fucked up person would be like, yeah, that abomination with like 8 tentacles, 22 eyes, and 17 mouths that likes to suck out the blood of their victims as they slowly chew through every cell individually, that's a monster. Yeah, pretty much everyone would say, yeah, that's a monster. Like, no one's gonna be saying, oh, humans are the real monsters. No. I'm sorry. In a world where you have active eldritch abominations of an unending tide bent on the destruction of all sentient life, you cannot pull out of your ass, humans are the real monsters.
Yes, but clearly, Sneaky, we live in society.
Now, are humans monstrous in this world? Possibly. Could they be called monsters or people? Yes. Are they the real monsters? No, that's Cthulhu at your door.
Yes, Kachuchu.
Kachuchu train. To mostly are monsters, the ones that don't see them are the way Taylor Ever from Princess and the Scientist guy from Ruby.
Man has a point.
Oh, fucking Taylor from Princess. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that always gets me actually really irritated, is when people write post Golden Morning Taylor, but they either write her with start of book Taylor personality or Warlord Taylor personality. It's like, no, she's actually had like 5 books of personality development beyond that, and then right at the end she went full circle and accepted consequences for her actions finally.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Post Gold Morning is pretty chill.
That's why I liked Three's a Party or whatever it's called that Argentorum was doing, where Taylor ends up isekai'd post Golden Morning into an RPG world where everyone's running around with like the warrior class as like an actual thing, and not just like, oh, I'm a warrior. It's like, no, it's like I'm actually the warrior class, and by leveling up by killing monsters, I can get new spells and abilities. And she's just like absolutely chill, just laid back, just like, I guess I'll do a quest or something. Sure, whatever, fuck it.
That's kind of cringe, bro.
And just sitting back, making puns, making fun of people being snarky and shit. Because it's like, yeah, I literally killed the equivalent of a space god and then committed seppuku. You've pretty much reached peak at that point, you know? There's really nothing left.
Calm down, Nietzsche.
I met God along the road of Buddha and ate him.
Kill God, then we'll talk.
Sit down, Nietzsche, until you kill God yourself with your own 2 hands.
I'm gonna fucking strangle God with my bare fucking hands.
Terrible beings who seem to exist with no purpose other than to destroy. No one knows much about these creatures, neither where they come from, or where they go. Where'd you come from, Grim-Eyed Joe?
God damn it. I was gonna make that joke, you fuck.
Nor what drives them to hunt man and his creations, but we know one thing for sure! They are the enemy. Really? That's what you lead into? They're the enemy. Really? Those Cthulhu creatures that are knocking down your doorstep, eating your people, and killing everyone. That's your inspiring declaration. They're the enemy! Okay. Okay, buddy.
Alright then.
Alright. I can see her adopting the warlord personality depending on circumstances. That's fair. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Like being resurrected by a ghost in Destiny's Dark Age. Yeah. True. It might also go to
I
GM mode.
may
Yeah,
be
fair.
retarded. I've been back for about 15 minutes.
And you just
not
muted the whole time?
Because I was like, I flipped my headset up to mute it when I took it off my head.
Yeah.
And then forgot.
Amazing. That's an Atin moment.
I mean, it's actually quite a normal anyone can make that mistake moment, but...
Yeah, but you did it right now, so it's an Atin moment.
A random guy is speaking as a modern person and they don't call him out on it. Yeah, Mom, you have to keep in mind, no one really wants to read Old English. And also another thing about Old English is actually what we know as quote-unquote Old English with these, thous, and thys, is actually Shakespearean English, which Shakespeare entirely invented.
Yeah. It literally was fanfiction English in the 1500s.
And if you really want an example of what you think a British person during the medieval ages would sound like, the South, the American South, is actually what a British person would sound like.
You gotta go pretty deep south.
Imagine that, the horror.
Because again, the modern British is a variation of Shakespearean English that people adopted alongside French nobility, where the British nobility wanted to seem more refined, and so they didn't really have a way of speaking different at the time, so they just took after the French. I know, disgusting.
I mean, British, what do you expect?
Because that made them sound different from the locals, the peasantry. So yeah, Cockney and the American South is actually more accurate to what a British person in the medieval era would sound like.
Yep.
When
the
these kind of person
things you
says
learn.
Us, but that is beyond Taylor and Amy's time, so they don't get the reference. Yes.
Sus among us. There are imposters among us, everyone. And they are sus.
Fucking Ina.
The triple imposter Ina. Power move, honestly.
Listen, the only thing that whole collab taught us is that Ina is like the master of head games.
I mean, her IQ is like 127, so...
Ina's a big fucking brain, Taco.
Ina's actually big brain. When she disengages the reservation for art in her brain, she unlocks her full brain power.
Game. Yep.
Disabling art limiters.
Disabling art limiters, indeed.
Activating Taco mode.
And yes, I am proud of that shitty little joke.
Uplinking to the Taco collective brain cell.
Flees through the thickets of long dead trees. Thin clouds of smoky white take to the air behind him. What? Was he being chased by the ghost KKK?
Chased?
His frenzied sprint gouges a trail of tiny footsteps into the snow. Frigid air fills his lungs. I mean, actually, look, honestly, depending on how light he is, especially if he's in filthy rags and he's small, child still, he might be walking on top of the snow, because that's actually a thing.
Yeah.
Listen, literal elks can walk on snow, and they are, like, hundreds of pounds.
I mean, even I can walk on snow, it just depends on how you balance your weight.
I cannot walk on snow anymore. I used to be able to do that as a child, but I'm too much of a unit now. The snow becomes frightened at my presence and falls apart.
Yeah. Built like a brick shit house.
Frigid air fills his lungs.
Or shit a brick house, depending.
Shit brick house, yes indeed. With every desperate breath, a numbness burrows deeper and deeper into his chest. The cold fills him, a deathly chill settles in his stomach. Behind him, the dead forest trembles. So this is starting to shape up into a Ruby Naruto like fusion world, which I really don't like the idea of. Like, RWBY poorly fuses with pretty much every world possible because, again, it's a post-apocalyptic world. Pretty much all post-apocalyptic worlds fuse poorly. But not only is it a post-apocalyptic world, it's also a post-apocalyptic world where there's only like 4 fucking actual cities. I guess Argus is now a 5th or something. But like, there's only 4 actual cities where people can be reliably found, and that doesn't really lend well to then fusing it with a narrative like Naruto, where people are just actually there, but they're hidden in the sand and the leaves and the rocks, and it's like, actually, humanity is flourishing, so it's not a post-apocalyptic world. It's like, wait, hold on.
Humanity was flourishing until it wasn't, until it was!
Wait a minute.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not a big fan of the post-apocalyptic world fusion. I'm also not really a big fan of cross-contamination fusion. Like, for example, you have Aura, which is distinctly not chakra. It's very much not chakra. Like, everything we have seen from Aura, it's not chakra.
Yeah, Aura, come on. You fucking retard, step up.
There's no real similarities between Aura and chakra beyond that they are a energy that the body creates that doesn't exist in our reality. That is the only similarity they really have. They both function similarly. They both make the person using it tougher and faster and stronger, and they can do superhuman feats and stuff. But Aura is not chakra. No one's pulling fireballs out of their ass without using dust, is basically what I'm trying to say. Or their semblance.
Or it's their semblance.
Yeah. And so combining a world of RWBY that operates with Aura as its main shaper of history with a world like Naruto where chakra is basically... Aura is the D&D equivalency in this example, and chakra is the Harry Potter equivalency in this example. Aura is, to a point, structured. It's very clear on what it can and cannot do. Chakra is, fuck it, whatever.
You just be like that?
It is the Harry Potter of the Asian world. In that it's very much just a... Can you throw enough spiritual technobabble to explain why chakra can do something, then it can do it. There's no real limits on it. There's no real delineation on, oh, well, actually it can't do these things. Because, you need to be elementally aligned. It's like, actually, even if you have an element in chakra, you can still do other non-element things that aren't related to your element, and even things that are the opposite of your element. It's just going to be a little bit harder. So, combining those two is just really not great from a world spanning perspective, because you effectively have to now rewrite all of Naruto and RWBY, because the plot of Naruto would go way fucking differently if all of the ninja were too busy fighting off an unending flood of eternal monsters than each other.
Yeah, that...
I'm gonna fight God.
Also, like...
there would
the Grimm
be
are
no
so
need
much
for-
less threatening when you can make a fucking nuclear weapon.
That too.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm pretty sure if you had most any high-level Jonin, or God forbid, one of the Kage, just throw one of those into Remnant, your Grimm problem's pretty much solved.
Yeah. So that would change the Naruto storyline majorly. And it would change the RWBY line majorly, because if all of the hunters can now run around and they can all cast clones and they can all cast, fireball, and they can all cast ice spear, and they can all cast swim through ground, that changes how hunters would operate massively as well. Because previously, hunters either operated alone in some cases, as we were shown, or as teams. And that was because they had to cover each other for their various weaknesses or strengths due to their semblances. But if everyone's able to be a generalist with some, even if semblances were kept around, and now, each person could do, like, basically each person had, like, some sort of super bloodline limit that was unique to them, like, that would still change a lot of the structure of how Ruby would go as well. Because the whole extra food cost that would theoretically be there, because again, even if it's not, clearly shown in a series like Ruby, you still do have to generally, guess sort of laws of, energy conservation and whatnot. So if you're throwing a fireball around, the person throwing a fireball around typically would understandably eat more food than the person that's not throwing fireballs around. And so, justifiably, even though theoretically, people with aura would cost more resources to have around, you wouldn't be doing wars with peasantry anymore. Like in the Naruto world, they stopped doing that as well, because they're like, ninjas, even a child with their chakra just, basically trained, was expected to be able to kill an entire camp of bandits who had no chakra training at all. 3 children versus a bandit camp. And they were expected to generally win without even taking damage.
Yeah, I would say, don't forget the important part. Win without getting scratched.
Yeah. So that is the gulf of difference. And you can be fucking sure that if in Ruby this shit was going down still and people now had chakra-like aura, they would absolutely not have normal soldiers anymore. There wouldn't be a point to normal soldiers. I mean,
guys, we invented robots. Who gives a shit? We're pumping out more child weapons.
Yeah, basically. I mean, not only that,
soldiers
on top of all of that, like, you would have to retcon the Brother Gods, and like they've removed magic from the world. So either people lose the ability to use chakra, or magic's an additional feature on top of chakra.
A third system on top of chakra.
Yeah. So like, so either they remove chakra and then the Naruto fusion world doesn't exist anymore, or they remove magic, which is the third system on top of aura and chakra, or chaka, whatever the fusion between those two is, which the author might possibly do in a hypothetical circumstance. But it's just like, why? Like, you don't gain anything from that. Like, it is so simple. Like, two-step goodbye. So I can actually speak on this because I did a Ruby Naruto crossover story. It was very popular when I was updating it. Unfortunately, indeed. I can speak on this. It's actually very easy and very simple to, if you just want Naruto to end up in Ruby, it's very easy to do that. Even as Naruto being 5 years old, it's easy to still manage that and still explain it and still make people go, totally understandable, thank you. You don't need to do a fusion world if you want young Naruto in Ruby. So if that's the reasoning, you're just dumb and wrong and you didn't really put much thought into it, which makes me not want to read your story. But on top of all the other reasons, of course. So it's why have 2,000 people favorited this story is my real question. That's basically what I'm trying to get down to. Is there's so many flaws with the basic premise of the backbone of the story that it makes me sit here and go, why?
Well, it turns out, Sneaky, people don't give a shit about the basic premise or anything really.
I know.
All they care about is being able to wank to it. One way or another. Power wank or just porn.
I know. Fool on me for thinking that people wanted something that's a little bit more than something to jack off to.
Yeah. Damn it, underplayed.
God damn it. Oh, man. Speaking of Rooster Teeth, Genlock apparently is getting a season 2.
Finally!
And not only is it getting a season 2, it's getting a season 2 on HBO.
Okay, so I never thought I'd say this, but I genuinely hope Michael B. Jordan is involved again.
Yeah, a little bit. And not only is it getting a season 2 on HBO, no one would know this information if HBO hadn't advertised it. Rooster Teeth has not made a single announcement regarding Genlock Season 2. HBO was the one to announce Genlock Season 2, and that was because it's coming out soon. Like, it's a, hey guys, are you ready for this thing that's coming out thing that, you know, HBO posts occasionally?
And
Like,
everyone just wait, what the fuck?
yeah, everyone went, what? Because Rooster Teeth did it again, and where they basically buried Genlock and refused to talk about it or tell anyone about it. Because internally, Rooster Teeth just hates Genlock for some reason.
It's like one of the only actually good things they've done in forever.
Yeah. No, I still don't know why, like, the Ruby community, or what was left of it at the time, shat all over it for some reason.
Because they couldn't.
Yeah, because they didn't like
because
it.
they have so disassociated from reality that they've convinced themselves Ruby is the height of writing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that Genlock, which not only had good writing, good development, and well-handled progressive activism,
yeah,
couldn't be good then.
Because
no, like aren't like there's a trans character,
if Genlock
and all they did
good,
was
if
the
Genlock
character
was
is
good,
trans,
Ruby
and they
was
moved
bad.
the fuck on.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, still cringe though. But alright.
No, it honestly was handled really well, and it wasn't even like characters trans when they moved on. It's they all loaded into this virtual reality, and the girl was now a guy, and they're like, why you got a guy avatar? And she's like, sometimes I feel like a man. And it's like, oh, okay. And then they moved
switched
on.
a couple times, and it's like, oh, okay, they just do that.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
And then so they just moved on, and like no one really made any big comments about it. They didn't make it important at all, and it didn't even come up in a moment that was like, not like it was like they were all eating or something, and someone's just like, "I am trans," and everyone's like, "Okay."
It was a day off for everyone, and they're like, "Let's go hang out at this."
Yeah, they all went online to go into their VR hubs, and they all loaded in. They're like, "Oh, wait, why are you using a male avatar?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm actually trans, sort of." It's like, "Oh, okay." Like, so it actually fit into what was happening, and it was like, "Oh, nice." But anyway, point being is that Genlock actually had a lot of good shit going for it. Like, a lot of great references, they incorporated a lot of stuff nicely into it. Now, the premise was hilarious and based. There was a lot of stuff that Max, Ann, and I all loved about it, whether it was a reference, whether it was
a deconstruction.
A deconstruction, or a twist that was like, huh, I didn't even think of that sort of scenario. Or even when it was stuff that you saw coming was still executed well. And what came down to is that the Ruby fandom was so much of Rooster Teeth's remaining fandom that when Genlock came out, all of the Ruby fandom hated it, because if they said Genlock was good, that meant Ruby was bad.
I mean, true though.
You know, I could totally see that being the reasoning in some of their brains.
Oh, no, it absolutely was. I was on the Ruby forums back in the day when that was happening, and they're like, no, Genlock can't be good, because if Genlock good, then Rooster Teeth bad.
I mean, yes.
Didn't Gray get fired over whistleblowing effectively on Rooster Teeth?
Gray?
I don't know anything about that.
The other Gray, the one that was actually an
Yeah.
employee, not me.
Gray.
Yeah, I was
had
just
Yeah, I
gonna-
know.
I-
I'm saying I don't know
I
anything
was
about
confused
that.
for a second. I was like, what did Gray
That
have
was
to do
for-
with this?
That was for Remy's sake, not yours.
I mean,
Yeah.
Gray's in Texas, so he could have. It could have been him all along.
Indeed.
Little did we
Like,
know.
I am stupid enough to go to Austin.
You know, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Understandable.
So anyway, let's finish this story up because holy shit, that's a long ass chapter. I'm just going to let's just run through it. Blah
Yeah,
blah
speedrun.
blah
Holy
blah
shit.
blah. Absolute fucking garbage. Just like, yeah, shadow, but they're also may be light, sacrificing life and limb against the creatures of Grimm. Unlike
Shit,
the
I want to see me speedrun this story.
Yeah, unlike
Okay,
the
I gotta say, the
reclusive
thing I hate
shinobi.
most-
This, yeah, so
The
it's a
thing I hate
speedrun,
most
it's
about
so
fucking Kingdom
bad.
Hearts is it introduced people jerking off to Light and Dark. Like, please stop. Please stop. You are not Nomura. You are not on an entire room's worth of cocaine. Stop trying.
Yeah, and also, it's just like, this whole thing right here is so fucking cringe. The quote-unquote brave huntsman played this role, sacrificing their lives to you know, stem the tide of the Grimm, unlike the reclusive shinobi who were loyal only to their hidden villages, or the mysterious sages devoted to their ancient traditions. With their unique semblances, they form the pillars of their society. They are the
Like,
good
I gotta
and
ask,
the evil of the
how
Grimm.
on earth are you gonna make humanity the bad guy in this one?
So
I
apparently-
really gotta know.
They're replacing Chakra. The author decided to go forward with replacing Chakra with Aura, but still
Okay.
somehow form hidden shinobi villages.
Know
this
how
is-
Aura works, so they think,
Yeah.
oh, I can just use this as a replacement and no one's going to give a fuck.
Yeah. So the issue I have with that part right there is that you now have to explain why. Well, you don't have to. I say you have to, but that's me demanding quality. But you know, forgive me here. You now have to explain why, if you're replacing Aura with Chakra, why the shinobi villages didn't form in the base story.
Because balls.
Also, are you really gonna have Naruto have the Kyuubi still sealed inside him, but now the Kyuubi is like some sort of Mega Grimm? Like,
Bruh.
is that really where we're going?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Turns out the mobile
Man.
weapons lab in the US was looking for Salem's Castle the whole time. Yeah.
Wait. We have mobile weapons labs?
No.
When do I get a Gundam?
You
Never.
should have them.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll support U.S. military dictatorship if I get a Gundam out of it.
You're not Japanese enough, my guy. There is actually a guy in Japan who's built a literal Gundam.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
know,
know.
except it
Full
doesn't
scale.
actually move.
Yeah. It should.
Unfortunate.
It doesn't move, but then they built one that can't fight but can walk, or
Yeah.
at least make
Well,
walking.
no, it
motions.
can move its limbs. It's still propped up by a tower.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, getting to the point of moving limbs.
Already an
Like-
accomplishment.
I
Like,
mean, yeah,
if
so
someone
far.
had told Kid Me someday there will be a giant functioning moving Gundam statue that can like move its limbs and articulate, I'd be like, you're full of shit.
Oh shit, he's not full of shit.
I'm just really depressed about how cringe the giant robot fight turned out to be.
That was super cringe.
Hmm?
So basically, these lads in Texas decided they were going to kickstart.
Well, no, hold on. We gotta be clear here. There was a Japanese company that made a giant robot. Then some mad lads in Texas were like, "We got a big robot. You got a big robot."
Well, no,
giant robot dick
let
measuring
me
contest.
timeline. So basically, what happened is that I believe I forget which one really happened first, but I believe
Japan's.
it was Japan's. Yeah, where they were
I'm
basically
almost positive it was Japan.
they were going to make this quadruped. Was it? It was either I think it was quadruped. That was the original goal at least. Quadruped like spider tankish sort of design where there would be a pilot in it, and it wasn't really going to be used for anything. It was just more of a point of
Can we?
It was more like just like, hey, look guys, we can actually do this, we can make it work, look, it walks, look, it can fire its guns. Its guns were all configured to shoot paintballs, FYI. And it wasn't really
Granted, they were closer. They were like closer to. They were like military paintballs.
Yeah,
because
like, they were police level paintballs where they were like, oh, this is gonna really fuck someone up if they get hit by it, but it was still paintball. And then there's these lads in Texas were like, hey, we heard that people were trying to build giant mechs, so we're gonna try and build our giant mech. Then they kickstarted it, and then they got a lot of fucking money for it. And they're like, hey, we've funded our giant mech. Hey, company that's building giant mechs, do you guys all want to fight? And all the companies that were building giant mechs as like a project were like, no, except the Japanese company, which was like, fuck yeah. And ultimately what ended up happening is the original design of the American mech went through multiple revisions, and they found out that all of their design attempts were not going to really work out. And then what got really cringe about it, but understandable, was if they were going to have a giant mech fight, they couldn't actually have the mechs like shoot and saw each other in half and, you know,
there was no way to make it actually safe for human operators, and there was no way to do it with robots.
Well, no, they could have done it with remote operators. The problem was it was supposed to be humans inside mechs.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to be like, oh, these two robots fought. It was supposed to be like two humans inside giant mech suits fought each other. And then everyone's like,
Not
oh, wait,
BattleBots.
humans are inside the mechs. We can't have people die on live stream. It's like, oh, yes, I guess not. So then they had to rebuild the American robot, because like the American robot was like two gauge shotguns and a chainsaw or something. And they're like, oh shit, we have to not do that because we can't safely fire that at someone.
Yeah, that sounds alright for us.
And ultimately the new mech ended up being super rushed and just really cringe, and the mech fight itself was just super cringe because there was just two giant blocks of metal that just kind of moved at each other, and they would try and knock the other one over. That's it. And it's like, oh, I kind of wanted a blood sport. I kind of wanted someone to die at the end of this.
Yeah. We wanted Bloodsport, but we couldn't get Bloodsport. And then we were at least hoping for mechanized Bloodsport, like get some oil leaks or coolant or some shit.
Big gouges in the mech, and then it just turned out to be no.
Mecha BattleBots, essentially.
Yeah.
Only not even anywhere, like, at least in Mecha BattleBots, occasionally you get, like, fast action.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, and it kind of really petered out at the end, which really brought away funds and interest in the whole project and the whole idea of it. And I honestly, as much as I would hate it, I kind of do want to see the police deployed with fucking Tamagotchis. Like, I'm just saying, that would be cool.
Tamagotchis?
It's these Japanese man's battle tanks that were basically spider tanks, but their spider legs ended in wheels, so they could go.
Oh, you're talking about the thing from Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
Okay, you said Tamagotchis, and I'm like,
Tamagotchi.
I thought you were talking about
Yeah,
the...
sorry, Tachigomas. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, why do you want to see them deployed with fucking children's toys?
That would be
I
funny
mean, it
too.
would be cringe, and I suppose it would be funny as shit, but...
Are we still on this?
Yeah, sort of. We've really deviated.
Yeah. I was taking a piss, so I don't really care about
Yeah,
on.
basically the author. Okay, so long story short, the author is being really fucking cringe. They kind of had this like whole idea of like a fusion world of Naruto and Ruby, but as I already explained in length, that doesn't work. And so how they tried to make it work kind of just nullified the existence of the Naruto world in a really bad way, because like the entirety of the Naruto lore is basically gone now, so it's basically like it's not even a fusion world anymore. It's just Ruby, but there's hidden villages of deadly assassins everywhere now. With aura. For no fucking apparent reason.
So Mercury Black X family doesn't exist as a profession. Wondrous.
They're part of a hidden village now, I guess, or something. Maybe they're rogue
God, if we
ninjas.
could get rid of Mercury Black, that would be stellar.
Mercury Black. What color is he? He's black. How did he get his name? Who knows? Also,
The
his
white
dad
man
can...
with robot legs.
Also,
It must
his
be
dad
like that.
can steal semblances, but for some reason was never picked up by any government ever, and was never killed by any government ever.
No, he wasn't picked up by any government. He wasn't picked up by any of the, like, 7 secret frickin' shadow cabals.
He died to his kid, if I remember right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how
Amazing.
they found Cinder was going to recruit Marcus Black, and then showed up to the house on fire, and Mercury stumbling his way out with busted legs.
Mm.
Gotta be honest, I'm kind of surprised that the actual thing was like, oh yeah, we showed up and there was just an Atlas hit squad just leaving.
Yep.
Who'd have thought? Who could have seen it coming?
Who would have ever known? Yeah. The Ruby lore is pretty garbage. Blah 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 blah.
Just skip it, honestly.
No,
Who cares?
no. So I was gonna be a hero combat.
Don't I have a
training.
skip from all the
I
months I've
still
played you,
hadn't
Sneaky?
figured out how to awaken my aura. It wasn't a
Sneaky.
surprise. I didn't have any friends or family. I forgot to introduce myself. Oh my god, that's fucking cringe.
Yeah.
I don't know where this came from. I don't know why it started, but I want it to stop. I want this to stop. Just entirely, period. Like, oh, I'm sorry. I've been talking to you in the narrative this whole time. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the main character of this story. My name is blank.
Make it stop.
I'm gonna
Someone
say the
kill
N-word.
it.
Do not.
No, you can say the N-word.
My name's Uzumaki Naruto. Or maybe it's Naruto Uzumaki, I guess, if you're from one of the kingdoms. Oh yeah, because apparently the secret villages all adhered to this like backwards name scheme that only they followed, but all the kingdoms followed the opposite. Oh,
You see, Sneaky,
okay,
they're
sure.
Japanese.
Yeah,
Easy breezy Japanese. See?
fucking ninja hidden in the Japanese.
Yes, the ninja hidden in the Japanese. Truly, an expert disguise.
It's always a pain remembering I have to switch back and forth between the two. You'd only have to switch back and forth between the two if you constantly went from your super secret hidden assassin village to the kingdoms, and then introduced yourself in the kingdoms while you were a part of the super secret assassin village. Are you introducing yourself to people while you're part of the super secret assassin village? Because I have some bad news for you. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that while you're a super secret assassin. Just saying. Maybe going around going, "Hi, my name is blank. I'm gonna go kill that person now." Bad
hello.
plan.
Yes, hello,
My name
police.
is
There's a
Osama bin Laden.
crazy person
I'm
here.
a wanted terrorist.
Maybe that's how he ended up as a wanted terrorist.
Well, no, you see, they were a criminal, but no one had caught them because they were from the super secret assassin village. But they finally introduced themselves to enough people that they became a international criminal.
Yes, of course.
Terrorist.
That explains it all now. Yeah, by the way, I have a couple other names that both the Super Secret Assassin Village and the Kingdoms have given me, but I'm not going to tell you them now. Fucking God. I was going to be a hero, so I made Salem choke to death on bugs. She didn't die, but she was pretty pissed off about it. Fair. My motto has always been blah 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 blah. I know I'll break someday. Blah 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 blah. Cringe ass monologue. I'm no hero. Cringe ass blah blah blah. Some fucking garbage ass action scenes are breaking up all of this narrative. It's absolutely garbage ass scenes. It's like it's a partially action, partially purple prose. It's really fucking awful, honestly. In another place, another time, I might have been a hero, but here and now, I'm not a hero. Blah, 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 wah, wah, wah. Blah, blah, blah. Without a doubt, I'd be a tragedy. Blah, blah, blah. Cringe. All this is fucking cringe. This is supposed to be a fucking prologue to the chapter and the story in general, and it's just cringe. It's just cringe. There's no pacing here. The pacing's fucking trash. It's just this narrative break where the character talks to us. This is literal anime shit. Like, this is not a written book shit. This is anime shit. This is shit you can pull off when you are doing something with a visual medium that you can have going on while the fucking narrative is going. But this is not a visual medium. This is words, and while I understand, yes, sneaky, words are visual mediums. No, they aren't moving pictures. Words are unfortunately not moving pictures. And I hate to break this to everyone, but doing a visual fucking requirement where you have to be seeing shit while you're listening to a narrative does not work when you translate it to the written format. And I'm just really tired of seeing it. I'm just really tired of seeing it. Yeah. It's like no one at any point in all the times they've seen it and all the times they've read it, like this person probably reads a bunch of. I'm sure if I go into their fucking profile, there'll be a bunch of fics they have favorited. Yeah, 30 favorites.
Why would you subject yourself to
that? You know, they got 30 favorited stories. I'm sure they maybe even they have another account with more favorite stories, or maybe they just created the account recently. By recently, I mean like in the past 4 years or whatever. And they were reading stories beforehand, and they just kept everything in bookmarks or something, because that's for some reason something people do.
That's the man who has an entire fucking stream bookmarked.
Yeah, but I don't follow these stories. I just make fun of them. There's a difference there.
True.
I would say we don't need to know when they update. We just need to be able to find them to mock them.
Yeah.
So anyway, point being is that I'm sure they have a bunch of stories they followed beforehand, or maybe they only follow those 30 stories. Maybe they're just extremely competent and they've never seen it before, and for no reason it never really came to them. why they never saw stories. Like, in all the 30 stories that they've read, and all the published books they've possibly theoretically read, why no one has ever done the style they're doing before. Just can't fathom. Can't put two and two together. I have never seen a single person ever do what I'm doing before. So I'm gonna go do it.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, can't fathom. Can't fathom why. Possibly no one's ever done that before. And maybe they have. Maybe they've seen a bunch of fan fictions who have done it before. And they were popular and shit. And they all said, wow, this is such an amazing fucking style. It's just so gorgeous and great and fantastic. Maybe they did say that. Maybe they're just dumb. Who knows? I don't.
I mean, well, fairly obviously they're just dumb.
Well, I mean, yeah, they are clearly dumb. I want to think a story with 2,000 follows is somehow, some level, competent enough. Not
Nah.
competent.
No.
Competent enough.
Pipe dream.
Yeah, I know. Doesn't stop a guy from hoping. Point being is they started off really garbage, and can't be fucked to read the rest of it. Honestly, can't be fucked to read the rest of it. It's a fusion story. And I think this is
of the page is the fucking prologue before the actual chapter.
Yeah, which wouldn't be bad if the prologue was good.
Yeah.
But it's not. So even if the actual story itself is good, I couldn't be fucked to read further. Now, admittedly, partial amounts of that is coming from the fact that I am now currently a little bit buzzed. So I did just drink quite a bit of vodka. However,
Same.
I probably wouldn't read I wouldn't even give the story the time of the day. In the first place. From the summary alone, I would open up the story, I would see the prologue, I wouldn't even bother reading the prologue, I would just close the story. Which is what happened, because this is a Zeke's recommendation from his program. I saw the summary, I said, okay, that's an interesting summary, that makes me want to click on your story. Not exactly in a positive manner, but certainly it makes me want to click on your story. And so I click on the story and I saw the prologue and I said, wow, fuck that.
What if I just didn't?
And we don't get content.
Secret villages kind of make sense, sort of like Raven's Tribe. Raven's Tribe doesn't make sense, though. Like, as far as Ruby goes,
Well, first of all,
general,
the entire concept of banditry as a profession doesn't make sense because it's one of the riskiest things you could do to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, not only are you surrounded with murderers and generally people who are cruel, miserable, and negative, you go to a village, you cause cruelties, you cause misery, you cause sorrow, and maybe you kill the village or maybe you don't kill the village, but either way, according to the lore that we were given, a massive amount of Grimm should attack this village. Because we at no point in time were ever told that Grimm were being stationed close to the Vale during the fall of Beacon. Meaning that enough Grimm were near Vale in normal numbers that would not have alerted Ozpin to there being any unusual amounts of Grimm near Vale. Meaning that people in Amity being sad and scared and angry that someone had died during the Roman Colosseum tournament was enough to drive enough Grimm into Vale to overwhelm the defenses. A normal amount of Grimm. Meaning that a city surrounded in giant fucking walls was overrun by what is considered a normal and quote-unquote safe level of Grimm. Meaning that if you are a bandit tribe and you go out and you fuck up an out of nowhere town, not surrounded by giant walls, not using fuck off giant guns, not with an army of fucking huntsmen.
Also, not with a giant fleet of battleships.
That too. That town should not only be wiped out, it should be annihilated. The Grimm should be on the heels of these bandits, following them around everywhere until they're slaughtered to the last man. Because bandits are greedy, miserable people who want other people to suffer, and that's why they're fucking bandits in an apocalypse world.
Yep.
The Fall of Vale was an inside job. Yes, it was. So, point being is that Salem's tribe of bandits doesn't make sense. Because not only do the logistics around it all make no fucking sense. Because if you're destroying these villages just to get a temporary amount of supplies, and you can't do any sort of trade with anyone because you keep destroying fucking villages, you're reduced to what? Extorting the villages peacefully? And these villages...
That's what we want, or we'll do nothing because that would summon a horde of man-eating monstrosities.
Right. And then the villages just go tell the local government. Now, admittedly, some of the villages might be like a sort of fuck you stance towards the local governments, and they wouldn't go running to the local governments, and they would just allow themselves to be extorted by bandits. But you're telling me every single village, not a single village would ever go to the local government saying, hey, there's a group of bandits out here and they're destroying
Well, you
villages.
also have to remember, it doesn't matter how many of them all give it, right? All of them have to give in for you to succeed.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, not a single person in all of these villages went to the local government and said, hey, Vale, we got a group of bandits. Just bandits. And Vale just said, nah, bandits are fine.
Don't give a shit as long as it's not in the walls.
Yeah, like,
Like, they didn't even do a theoretical bandit cleanup before they tried to launch Mountain Glen.
Yeah. So it's just really baffling. It's just really baffling how bandit tribes exist in a post-apocalyptic world where endless hordes of creatures that do not tire and endlessly seek for the destruction of humanity are brought around by negative emotions are somehow coexisting with the existence of bandits. You know, the people that cause negative emotions.
And, once again, even if they weren't causing negative emotions, people don't go into banditry because they're happy, fun individuals.
Rooster Teeth is a collection of dumbasses. Enough said. Let's move the fuck on.
Yeah. I've said it many times before. Monty was an animator, not a writer. So apparently Naruto is on some fucking train, and he's with the White Fang. So I guess this is the Blake opening, possibly. Oh wow, and he's being super. Basically, it's a self-insert Naruto. I say self-insert Naruto because he's out of character. He's some snarky, wise-ass piece of shit who's affiliating himself with terrorists and stuff, and it's like it's not Naruto.
Alright, Naruto, we're going to go kill the civilians. The what?
Okay. You mean the undeclared enemy combatant?
And so anyway, he beats up all the White Fang. And turns out that the White Fang is trying to mimic Jinchuriki powers using special advanced technology in coalition with Atlas or some garbage. I can't be fucked to read it, but you know, it's there. So yeah, well, basically what I'm trying to say here is that the author, despite getting rid of Chakra, and obviously therefore Chakra Beasts and the origin of Chakra Beasts, decided to keep Chakra Beasts around, except they're now Grim that have aura that are sealed into humans, and the humans can use the Grim aura to do things. That is different from normal aura, because Atlas is trying to replicate it using machinery. Which, the existence of Grim Beasts replacing the fact of Chakra Beasts would imply that the Grim Beasts, for some reason, can't die. Because why would you be making human sealed hosts for these Grim Beasts unless you could kill them? Unless you couldn't kill them, right? Sorry, unless you couldn't kill them. So if you can't kill Grim Beasts, that implies that Grim reach a certain level where they just eternally come back with all of their memories and powers intact. Which means humanity loses.
Super hard.
Like, humanity just loses. Like, if you're saying that Grim, once they reach a certain age and power level, they just forever come back, then humanity loses. So you or it's just these specific 9, because why author? Why these specific 9 Grim Beasts? Oh, it's because reasons, and I'm stupid and retarded and need to be shot. Oh, fair enough, author, fair enough. Line up against the wall.
Yeah.
Ein Führer.
It's
We
just
have captured the author.
basically. So yeah, Naruto goes on to beat up all the White Fang, and then someone goes, "You! I know you, Uzumaki. You're the white-faced, gold-tailed demon fox." He's even got commas. He's got commas in his nickname.
Oh.
You know you've made it when your nickname has commas.
The Salem House 9. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
It's as
fuck's
retarded.
sake.
It's as retarded as that. Yeah. The white-faced, gold-tailed demon fox. No one would ever give someone would give the nickname Demon Fox. Understandable. Like, okay, fair enough, you know.
He's got fox whiskers on his face, and he kills a bunch of people. Alright, fair enough.
Nail it.
This feels as
And now-
bad as a cultivator nickname.
Yeah, pretty
Like,
much. Yeah.
here's the
It's a
thing, like,
cultivator
as
tier nickname.
dumb as some of the stuff in Fire Emblem Three Houses is,
Yeah.
the main character, first of all, they give a decent reason for the main character being, like, amazing at combat, which is, oh, your dad's a mercenary. And you've been in his mercenary company since you could walk. So, alright, fair enough. And your character is extraordinarily pale, and, due to a bunch of stuff, has very muted emotions. So they just started calling this, like, 14-year-old on the battlefield the Ashen Demon, because they have no expression on their face, and they're a murder machine.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, that makes sense. So that short little epitaph makes sense. Demon Fox. Okay, they look like a fox? Act like a demon. Nailed it. Okay. Gold-tailed would be if there was a demon fox, and then someone showed up with a gold tail and acted like the demon fox. And then they'd be like, that's the gold-tailed demon fox, to differentiate you from the demon fox. So the existence of the white-faced, gold-tailed demon fox implies that there is currently 3 people running around with the moniker of demon fox and 2 people running around with the moniker of gold-tailed demon fox.
Or white-faced demon fox, or whatever.
White-faced demon fox. But by the conventions of English language, the gold-tailed being the second one would imply it's the second. I would disagree with your assessment of the story introduction style only when it's a story that's meant to be cracky. When it's the opposite vibe, which I'm getting. No, that's fair enough. When the story is specifically meant to parody, deconstruct, or just generally poke fun at a certain trope, theme, style, it's understandable. But you do have to make that very, very clear in the opening. Otherwise, it just comes off like what this story did, where it's just cringe. Like it doesn't matter how subtle the indicator is, it has to be there so people can go, oh. Otherwise, it's not really a deconstruction or a parody. Like, Konosuba is a parody. It's obviously a parody. Like, it should have been obvious it was a parody the second Konosuba started, and then started getting into its, like, shtick. And it's like, oh, these are all jokes. It's making fun of this stuff. It was obvious to me. Doesn't mean I like it or I'll watch it, because it reminds me too much of both my Dota parties and my D&D parties. But it's there. It's obvious. For people that are looking for it, they go, oh, it's a parody. It's making fun of this stuff. Yeah, ultimate Yu-Gi-Oh card, the gold-tailed pale fox, demon fox, yeah. Yeah. That's like a Yu-Gi-Oh card name. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and so Naruto is basically Naruto is the best way to describe it, is currently being portrayed as your typical abridged character, where they're super snarky, they're cracking jokes left and right, everyone's getting unreasonably pissed off at their jokes, everything's really played up. Blah blah blah. Also, apparently Naruto unlocked all the gates, which are apparently a thing in this world, despite chakra not existing. The aura gates.
That's dumb.
Very, very dumb. Because, again, this is the sort of problems you come across when you try to mesh two worlds like Ruby and Naruto together. If some discovery like aura gates that worked similar to the chakra gates of Naruto, whereby unleashing each gate you got boosts of power, which, could theoretically decrease your lifespan in accordance to the gates that you've opened, unless you've opened a certain number of gates, at which point it nullifies the previous gate's lifespan decreasement.
Which, by the way, makes the least sense of anything in Naruto.
Yeah.
I mean, not like anything that actually makes sense.
No, but this just magically undoes the age reduction. Okay, at least when you become a monk in Pathfinder, there's a point where the monk stops, the effects of aging stop applying. But the game very specifically says any effects already applied still happen to you.
Ruby's biggest world-building flaw is that the characters don't have slurs. I wouldn't call it the biggest flaw, but that's actually.
Certainly
I will
a big one.
agree. That is actually a flaw. I will agree that's actually a flaw. Yeah.
They also don't have curse words. Like, okay, listen.
Yeah.
Is
that's
it
true.
dumb when your Magic Fantasyland has fake curse words? Yes, it's pretty cringy, but it makes sense.
Yeah. And like, the best way to run about it, really, honestly, is you just make it a variation of words everyone already has, like frack or what's the Star Wars one?
Scrack,
Yeah,
crag,
whatever. Yeah, something like that.
cark.
Yeah,
Cark
yeah,
is one of
carking.
them.
Yeah, carking. Yeah, like it's a clear
Yeah,
variation.
carking and criffing. Those are the two.
Yeah, it's a clear variation of words that
Criffin.
everyone knows, but it's got the this is a fantasy world, twist on it. Of where it's like, okay, yeah, everyone just kind of nods their heads, like, yeah, we get it. They don't use the same words as us. It's a fantasy world, yada yada. But we all know what they're really saying, sort of scenario. Yeah, Clanker's a droid slur.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but like even that, right? That added reasonable character to the clone because, of course, shouting "battle droids ahead" in the middle of combat is a lot to say, right? There's a reason that super battle droids got abbreviated SBDs.
Well, I mean, fucking hell. In World War II, we called the Germans Krauts. It's easy.
Well,
it's
that
easy
was
to
really
say...
more World War One.
No, that's World War II.
No, both. Well,
World
War One was more Huns.
Yeah, we called them Krauts. Well, yes, it was easier to. It wasn't like harder to say Germans. We called them Krauts because it's derogatory. We are derogatizing them every single time we refer to them. It's a sort of morale boosting, thing that just people do just to insult.
Well,
the
it's
other
not just
team.
about morale boosting; it's about dehumanization, right?
Well,
now, of
yeah,
course, that
that's it.
doesn't apply to something like droids, which aren't human, right? But you dehumanize the enemy to make it easier to shoot the other human being. Because remember, fundamentally, people don't do that.
Well,
We
yes.
have an entire system to train you and break down your resistance to shooting another human being.
Well, yes, true. However, it is also a sort of like rallying cry to your side to shout slurs, even if the enemy is unfeeling and doesn't really understand them.
Yes.
To just shout slurs and be like, yeah, we're spitting in your face, sort of, humor and morale system. Because we have a really weird way of building up morale for each other.
Even the clones did it. To the droids.
Well, I mean,
So
yeah, that's sort of my point. Is that, like, yes, even if, like, it's a scenario in where, we're not even trying to kill each other, we're not even trying to, I mean, even if we're not the ones fighting, so just take football as an example, right? Like, you're still gonna call the other team pussies and shit like that. Like, you're not dehumanizing them, but you're still just shouting slurs at them, regardless of whether the team hears you or not, because that fires up your own supporters, regardless of the dehumanization going on or not.
yep.
They're them and we're us and yada yada rah rah rah. And there's none of that. And there's none of that in Ruby, which is kind of weird.
Like, you think they'd have, right? They have faunish racism, but no faunish slurs.
Yeah, no slurs with faunus, but there's totally racism against them.
No slurs against the Grim.
No slurs against the Grim. No shouts, no battle cries.
Just screaming.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird.
Weird and dumb.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was that story. That just that's honestly that's what I always harp on about Fusion Worlds, is that when you try to fuse the systems in place, when you're trying to fuse two magic systems, because that's what it is. Aura and Chakra are both basically magic systems. When you try to fuse two magic systems together, you're never going to get a good result, because no two magic systems are exactly alike. Like, even Goblin Slayer's magic system is not exactly alike D&D's magic system, even though the creator of Goblins...
that has a lot more to do with copyright, but...
Well, no, not at all. It's just the creator of Goblin Slayer was, in his own words, heavily inspired, borrowed heavily, and pretty much was mostly like the D&D system. It's just people didn't have precise levels, and just because the priest girl got more experience didn't mean she suddenly had 27 spell slots now, like a normal cleric would have at like level 5 or whatever. She had 3 casts.
Which I want to point out was more than another cleric. So
Right.
it was either related to faith or whatever the intrinsic
despite the fact that it was heavily based on and heavily took from, it was heavily inspired by the D&D system, Goblin Slayer still made modifications to it to better fit the narrative the author was trying to use. Which means even if you did a fusion world of Goblin Slayer and D&D, it would change things. You would either end up having two magic systems that were extremely similar that characters would follow differently, or you would have the same magic system which would drastically change the world of Goblin Slayer or D&D depending on which universe you're in. Like, holy shit, if Wizards had only 3 casts of Fireball but also 3 casts of Lightning Bolt, like, and that's all they had access to that day, like, that's way different than a normal wizard.
3 casts of any spell. Oh, not different ones, as far as I'm aware with Goblin Slayer.
Right.
But the thing still stands.
Yeah. And it's just like, that would be way different, way nerfed. And that would change a lot of the shit that happens in D&D, various D&D lands. Faerun and shit like that. If Wizards had only like 3 spells per day versus their normal 29 or whatever. So fusion worlds in general don't really work when you're trying to combine magic systems. Tech systems can combine a little bit easier because pretty much all sci-fi is just one variation of the other. And you can pretty much get away with, this tactical cloak versus that tactical cloak, they're basically the same thing, and they operate on basically the same technobabble, and they use probably the same materials because the materials are usually never listed because it's sci-fi and they don't really go into depth on that sort of shit because it's sci-fi, and they kind of just want to be like, here's the cool laser gun. We're not going to tell you how it works because we don't know how it works. It just does. Believe us, technology TM. And so you can get away with meshing technology fusion worlds quite easily because they mesh quite easily.
Hey, we have a plasma cannon. Or we have something that's almost a plasma cannon. Cool, we have something that's a plasma cannon or almost a plasma cannon.
Yeah. And so it kind of just boils down to the same ideas, but maybe different approaches. And magic systems are different because they get kind of semi-spiritual, and they have a lot of author hand-waving included in them. And, some of them are structured, some of them are not structured, some of them are literal narrative dependent, like Lord of the Rings, for example. Their magic system is literally narrative dependent. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean literally, Gandalf becoming Gandalf the White for killing the Balor was such a narrative story point that he became Gandalf the White from being Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah.
Didn't he
Like-
skip like two levels or something?
Well, no, because like Gandalf the White versus Gandalf the Grey, they aren't really like levels per se that are clearly delineated. It's just the White is the position of the leader of the group, and because Saruman had betrayed everyone, and Gandalf had shown his valor, and everyone still needed a wizard guide, and like I said, there was a bunch of narrative stuff that aligned to allow him to become Gandalf the White due to showing that, he was able and ready to do the blah 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 narrative stuff, like literal narrative reasons as to why he became Gandalf the White, not because of any system in place that would let him upgrade.
Yeah, there was no promotion thing. The fact that he came back, well, first of all, he would have continued to exist even if he hadn't killed the Balrog, because he's an angel, right? His physical form on Earth dying, or Middle Earth, whatever, did not affect his immortal fate, right? He would have just gone back to Angel Land and been totally fine. But as he said, you guys still need a wizard, and Saruman's fucked up the job. And more specifically, there has to be a white wizard.
Yeah. And so because of that, it's a very more loose system. And so trying to fuse that with, even Naruto, trying to infuse that with Harry Potter logic. The Harry Potter meshes a little bit better because Harry Potter works on the same sort of, basically author fiat narrative structure magic. But ultimately, it doesn't work great if you try to do a fusion. If you do a crossover, it works just fine. But if you try to do a fusion of where that magic system was always present in the world and just some people could do it, maybe? That would change the plot of Middle-earth. That would change the plot of Harry Potter if the magic system worked like Middle-earth. It's like fusion worlds in general for magic systems work very poorly unless you have them be side by side, and you really can't get away with side by side magic systems very often. Stories like Harry Potter and DxD shockingly can get away with doing fusion worlds because the Harry Potter wizards are canonically very isolated. And at the same time, their magic system is also semi-canonically a special magic system for just the special wizards. That they're their own group, and other creatures sort of have their own versions of magic that are not connected to wizard magic. And because of all of that in the Harry Potter system, you can actually have them be in the DxD world with actual minimum fuss, because even if they were just this isolated group, you could say, oh yeah, because they were isolated, no one really bothered to go into them because they were just so backwards as well, and their magic system wasn't as good as normal, mages who could do math magic and could just do way better shit, and it was way easier to train them up, and it was way easier to have them do things than trying to deal with this backward faction of insulationist wizards. So you could get away with all of that because of how the plot of both of these stories work out, because there's not a lot of development as well in terms of... Also, Campione, I guess, is another one. There's not a lot of development of Britain for Campione or DxD. And so you can get away with inserting a plot, story, canon, whatever, that deals only with Britain and not the rest of the world, and just be like, yeah, these two things were always there, and they just kind of worked out. And that's very rare, however, when it comes to trying to do complete fusion worlds. And so honestly, it's not worth the time. It's not worth the bother. If you're gonna put that much effort into trying to write a fusion story like that, you might as well just write your own original story, put it up on Royal Road, actually make a couple dollars.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my piece. It's currently 9:04, which means we're closing out tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for stopping by in Sneaky's Corner. This has been Fanfiction Contempt Theater 9004. We'll see you on Friday, because there is, unfortunately, always more, and it always gets worse.